Hi folks, we got one little piece of chapter 7 left to finish, and then we're going to move over into the homework problems. But anyway, here we're going to take a look at FIFO, LIFO, and all that, but in a perpetual system. Okay, so basically show you the difference between the two. Okay, so all right, so here's the thing. Under a periodic system, you only know your inventory at the end, right? So you got to count everything. Okay. In a perpetual system, because your inventory is constantly getting updated, when you make a sale, you have to remember you can only sell based on what you have in your inventory at the time of the sale. So if you take a look here, right, we have a beginning inventory, right? Then we have a purchase. Okay, so these two are going to be in inventory. And then we make the sale. Now, because we're making the sale on October 4th, the only inventory we can even think about is October 3rd and October 1st. That's different from periodic. And periodic, you would check all of them. So let's take a look, okay? All right, so if we're doing FIFO and we're doing perpetual inventory, right? So notice we're doing perpetual inventory. We have 10 units times $7, then 30 units times 8, then 10 units times 10, it's 100. Total goods available for sale, and we're using the first unit. So we're going to use 10 units at 70, and then 25 units, right? Because we're selling 35 units for a total of $270, right? So it's 140, okay? Periodic, it winds up being the same exact thing, okay? Cost of goods sold winds up being the same, except that we count the ending inventory to get our cost of goods sold. So the two are calculated, but calculated backwards. Now, when we get to LIFO, that changes everything, okay? So let's take a look. So now we're going to take a look at LIFO perpetual, okay? Now with LIFO, what happens here is we can only consider the items that we had available for sale. So we had these items available for sale, and we had these items available for sale. So cost of goods available for sale is $310, right? The cost of goods sold, right, would be $275, right? And then our ending inventory would be $135. That would be, we'd have 5 units left from the $7, right? And then we would have 10 units left at $10 to give us $135. So you see what happens is our cost of goods available only included these first two items right here, okay? Now, if you do it periodic, right, we're going to wind up, see the difference in cost of goods sold? 275 to 300. Why? Because now we're selling 10 of these and 25 of these, okay? Right? And so what we wind up having left, we have 5 of these left at $8, and then we have 10 units at $7. So our cost of goods sold is $300 because we sold these $10 units. You see, in perpetual, we didn't have the $10 units already, so we couldn't do it. And then we're going to take a look at weighted average. It's the same type of thing. Notice what happens here. We have to go and calculate, okay, right now we got 40 units. What's the average of the 40 units? And then we do the same thing, okay? And then we have that purchase here. So there's our 5 units times that 775 to give us this. And then we have this ending inventory right here, okay? So you see the whole thing about perpetual is that you don't go all the way to the end because you don't own some of it when you're making the sale, right? Like back here, you have to go back. If you go back, remember, here's the key. Here's the key, right? You can't sell what you don't have. We don't have this yet, okay? And that actually makes an impact, especially on LIFO for perpetual, okay? All right, let's see what else we got here. So here they're just giving you the total effects that we just did. You can see the different inventory. Again, we got FIFO, we got LIFO, And we got weighted average. And notice again, weighted average comes right in between the two. Okay, move this, you can see, move my picture. See, comes right in between the two. All right, now we're going to take a look at some exercises from the chapter. Make sure, so when we're going through these, make sure you get your sheet of paper out. Make sure you understand what's going on, okay? That's how you get better at this stuff. If you don't work the problems, it's hard to get any better. All right, so here we go. So they want to know, calculate cost of goods sold, ending inventory, all that kind of stuff under periodic FIFO. So they want periodic FIFO. Move the picture again. Okay, so notice we had a beginning amount here. Oops, hold on. Highlighter. Okay, so we had this beginning inventory of 50. They're 10 bucks a piece. Then we had 250 more at 13 bucks a piece. And then we sold 100 of them, and we sold them for $15 each. Okay. Now remember, if we're doing FIFO, we're going to sell these 50 first, and then we're going to sell another 50 out of the $13. Okay. So we take there's our $10 ones right here. Okay, $10, 50 units at $10. Then purchases 250 units at $13. This gives us that. So now this is the cost of goods available for sale. This is all the goods. Now, what did we actually sell? We actually wound up selling it. Take the ending inventory. What are we going to have left? We're going to have 200 of these left. So 200 by $13 is 2,600 bucks. Our cost of goods sold is going to be the 50 times 10, 50 times 13, and we get 1,150. What's our gross profit? Well, we sold them at $15 each, 100 units at $15, minus our cost of goods sold, gives us a gross profit of 350 bucks. Okay? Not too bad. Now we're going to do LIFO. Now remember, periodic LIFO, we're going to sell the last ones first. So what's going to happen here? We have the same inventory. But notice, our inventory now, because we're going to sell 100 of these $13 units. So we got 100 of the 13, we got 150 of the $13 units left, and we got those 50 $10 units. That gives us our ending inventory value of 2,450. So our cost of goods sold now is $1,300. So our gross profit now is only $200. Notice what we did. We lowered the gross profit, which would eventually lower net income. So again, doing LIFO, it's really all about saving taxes, okay? And again, periodic system. Next thing, we're going to take a look at weighted average. So here we take all of the units, right? We have 50 units here, 250 here. That's the total value. So you take the total value divided by 300 units, and it's $1,250 per unit. Well, our ending inventory, we're going to wind up having 200 left at $1,250. That's $2,500. So our cost of goods sold is $1,250. And so our gross profit is $250. So notice here we got $250 before LIFO, $200, and FIFO was $350. So you can see again, weighted average comes right in between the two. Okay. All right, now they want us to do FIFO, LIFO, weighted average on all of these items here, okay? Beginning inventory, sold, purchased, and again, we're doing periodic, okay? So, cost of goods available for sale, it's the same for all the methods, right? So, available for sale right here is 16. We had 2,000 units, then we had a purchase of 6, then we had a purchase of 8. There's our unit cost for each of these. And so there's our total. This is the cost of goods available for sale. Now the question really is, which units are we selling? Okay. All right, for FIFO, we have an ending inventory, 7,000 units times 50 bucks. And that's because we're selling them in order, right? So we're selling these first, then we're selling these, then we're selling these. So we wound up selling a total of 9,000 units for this much money, and these are the units we have left over. Now, for LIFO, it's just the opposite. What do we wind up selling? We wind up selling these expensive units, 8,000 units at 50 bucks. and then 1,000 units at 44. So notice our ending inventory is much lower, and our cost of goods sold is $50,000 higher. Okay? All right. Now, weighted average, guess what's going to happen? It's going to wind up right in the middle, right? You take a look at weighted average, there's the total cost. Divide by 16,000 units is 4,650. Well, our ending inventory is 7,000 units times 4,650. There's the number. And on our income statement, we sold 9,000 units based on that average price for right there. And again, winds up right in the middle. Okay. All right, folks, I'm going to stop it right there. We're going to be back with part two. Part two from our problem solving on chapter 7.